All right, welcome back to the East Croc Podcast, episode 11, I think. Um, we're gonna do another prediction episode, um, for week 2 of the NFL. But first, we'll recap week 1, and holy cow, what a week 1 it was! I'm so happy, and I'm sure a lot of the world, a lot of the nation, is happy that football is back, and it was a pretty big week. I think a lot of the games though were pretty expected with certain games, certain teams, certain matchups. But there were a few in there though that were a little shocking, little eye openers, for a lot of the teams. Look back at Thursday night, the Cowboys looked good. I mean, I thought the Cowboys looked really good compared to Cowboys of the past. Now they still lost. It's Brady. I think last week I predicted that the Buccaneers would still win because obviously they're such a great team. I mean, they have so many threats offensively, and then defensively, you can't run the ball. They held Zeke. I think they held Zeke to like under 50 yards rushing, 33 yards rushing. Zeke had on 11 carries. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You know, I mean, and Zeke looks good. I mean, I don't know if you guys watch Hard Knocks, but Zeke looks good. He lost like 100 pounds. I won't say 100, but he looks good. He slimmed down. He looks like the Zeke of old, even though he's only been in the league for a little while. He looks like the Zeke that came from Ohio State his rookie year and his first year here. How he was electric, and that's how he looked in Hard Knocks at least. And he had some explosiveness in him on the few carries that he had, but they just weren't able to get anything done. That Buccaneers defense is so good. But I still don't think the Buccaneers last. I think they're great. I think they're good, but I think everybody's gonna start catching up a little bit. I mean, look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys could have easily won that game if they don't leave seven. If the kicker doesn't leave 7 points on the board. I mean, that was horrendous. Horrendous. But Buccaneers won that game. Moving on to the Seahawks Colts. Seahawks doing Seahawks things. Russell Wilson doing Russell Wilson things. The Colts looked okay with Carson Wentz there. 2 touchdowns, 251 yards. I mean, that's way better than expected with somebody coming from an injury. Like, you don't really know what the guy's going to do or what that team's going to do. But the Colts looked okay, but the Seahawks are going to do Seahawk things. Jaguars, Texans. Texans now. The Texans looked. I said it last week that Tyrod Taylor, I mean, he's still a good quarterback. He's still a really good quarterback. But there's so much dysfunction within that I didn't think that they were going to win. I thought, the Jaguars have. I thought Jaguars would have been a better team, but you can't win a game when you throw in so many interceptions. 3 interceptions from Trevor Lawrence is absolutely horrendous. I know, granted, he's a rookie, but there's no excuse. I mean, you're drafted number 1 overall. You're coming to perform. You're going up against a pretty weak Texans defense. Secondary is okay, but 3 interceptions ain't going to cut it, obviously. So the Texans winning that game, I think, is pretty big. I think the Texans, I think it's kind of a fluke game. A little weird. I don't think it's going to last, But I don't know. Carlos Hyde, 44 yards rushing. DJ Chark had a great game, but I don't think it lasts for the Texans. I think the Jaguars got. I think they're figuring something out. I love Trevor Lawrence there. I really do. He's a winner. This is the first time he's lost in forever, I guess. I don't know. But it's the NFL now. It ain't college. It isn't high school. These are grown men you're playing against now. It's not. You know, but Jaguars. I think you take away those 3 turnovers. Obviously, it's a way different game. Texans look pretty good, but I just don't think they last. Eagles, Falcons. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts looks good, man. Jalen Hurts looks really good. The the Falcons, man, I really want the Falcons to be good. I'm just sick of them. I'm just sick of them. I want to be. I just want them to be good. But Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns, 264 yards passing. Miles Sanders, 74 yards on the run. Matt Ryan, 164 yards passing. That can't. That's just not good, man. Their leading rusher was Cordero Patterson, 54 yards rushing. Cordero. Yeah, that I was really hoping the Falcons would. I mean, they got you know. I still think Matty Ice is a good quarterback, but the Eagles came out and the Eagles I think are gonna be a team to reckon with. Jalen Hurts, he keeps playing at this high level. Obviously he's a baller, but I don't know, 32-6 that score. That's just Falcons got a lot to prove yet. I don't think they might take last in the division looking the way they looked that game. I mean, horrible Chargers. The Chargers football team game, the Chargers Washington game. Now Fitzpatrick went out with an injury. He suffered a hip subluxation. A subluxation. What is that? That don't sound good. Who knows if he'll be back? Heineke or Heineke or Hillicky or whatever the hell his name is. He came in. He actually performed pretty well. He had a touchdown off 15 attempts. Now, granted, they only scored one touchdown. The rest was kicking, and the kicker missed a field goal. But Chargers, on the other hand, need to put more points on the board. I think they could have blown out Washington. Justin Herbert looked really good. Threw a pick. Austin Eckler okay on the ground. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I mean, they're distributing the ball around a lot. Justin Herbert looks really, really good. He's on my fantasy team for a reason. I didn't want to get into my fantasy team. Holy cow! I think I lost every league I'm in. I lost. Barely put up 100 points, but the Chargers. I really think the Chargers are only going to get better and better and better. And the Washington football team, now with Fitzpatrick gone, I don't know this Heineke. I mean, he's had two performances. He was in the playoff game, and then I think it was a playoff game, the wild card game last year. Was it a wild card game where he showed out, and now obviously he comes in again this week, and he balls out a little bit too. Maybe there's some promise there with him. Maybe he's a quarterback you could pick up on your fantasy team if you're struggling and you didn't get a good one this year because. I don't know. There's only, in my opinion, there's only like 4 good quarterbacks now. Everybody's kind of subpar if you reference week 1. But the Chargers, I think should have blown out Washington. But still, they still played a pretty good game. Their passing game's pretty good. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler in the backfield. He's a dual threat. And Justin Herbert, that offense is really good. Defensively, maybe that's what they need to work on, but. The Steelers and the Bills. Now, I was kind of surprised on that one. Because the Bills are good, man. Josh Allen just did not perform. Okay, I won't say that. 270 yards passing, only 1 touchdown. Right. Distributed the ball pretty well. Stephon Diggs had 69 yards. Devin Singletary, 72 yards on the ground. But the Steelers, Big Ben only threw 188 yards to Deontay Johnson. Like, I don't know. There's like no turnovers in the game. It was just a weird game, like a slow game, boring game. But the Steelers put up 17 points in the fourth quarter. Now, it didn't turn on to the fourth quarter. But the Bills, it was just such a slow, weird game. Like that was kind of the thing with this whole week 1 is it just kind of like all these play calls were very, very conservative. Like you look at this Bengals Vikings game, and I'm glad the Bengals won. The Vikings being mid-season form Vikings, just average, could be way better. Thielen puts up numbers. Dalvin Cook doesn't really do anything on the ground, which I was actually kind of surprised. Joe Mixon. I hate that he's constantly good, but I don't know. He gets so much hate. It's actually kind of funny. But Joe Burrow looked good, but they were so conservative with their play calls. I actually watched. That was one of the games Sunday that I actually watched all the way through, and they ran the ball so much. Which okay, fine, but let them throw the ball. Like at the end of the game, it's fourth quarter, you're up. And they ran it 3 times. I think they went forward on 4th down, like 4th and 3, and then they decided to pass it. And I can't remember if it was a sack or an incomplete pass, but now you're giving up the rock, and it's like the play calling was weird to me in that game. from the Bengals. I think the Bengals could have probably won by like 3 scores, 2 scores for sure. But they went into overtime and the Bengals ended up winning it. But I don't know. Lions. That was another game, another weird game. The Lions and the Niners. Jared Goff didn't turn it on to the second half. 314 yards passing from Jimmy G too. I mean, I don't know. Debo had a great game. He's on my bench for fantasy, so that was cool. Very happy about that. George Kittle doing George Kittle things. I was surprised that Eli Mitchell was able to get over 100 yards on the ground against the Lions. I think the Lions have decent defense, but they didn't turn it on. They only played like a quarter and a half of football. I still think the Lions can win the North, especially the way the NFC North looks right now too, because tell you what, if I'm Detroit or even if I'm the Bears, the Bears lost. Even the Vikings. I'm looking at Green Bay, and I'm thinking about. We all knew. We'll talk about Green Bay. Green Bay Saints. First off, Jameis Winston. That offense came light from the first play. They came out so fast and so ready that there was not a chance. That first play, I knew there wasn't a chance for Green Bay the rest of the game. Now, granted, I don't think anybody expected it to be that bad. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had like a 32 point whatever passer rating, which is, I think, worse than if he were to just take the ball and throw it into the ground every single play. The dude is not here to play football. I mean, he said it himself. This is the weirdest he felt in however many years. But the Saints looked, even though Jameis only had like 180 yards passing, I think, 148 and 5 touchdowns. How do you throw 5 touchdowns with under 150 yards passing? It doesn't make any sense. That's just the Packers gave up the ball. The play calling for that game was horrendous. The situational play calling. Yeah, okay, I get it. At one point in the game, it's down. They're 24-3 or whatever the score was. I get it. It's like third quarter, and you're on your 22-yard line. Why go for it on fourth down? Punt the ball, play the game. Like trust your defense a little bit to stop them. Maybe they got a new defensive coordinator over there, so the defense has been shaky, which is kind of expected, and especially expected when you don't play half your starters in the preseason. Defensively. Offensively, sure. Sit your quarterback, sure. Sit your MVP quarterback, sure. You don't even want to risk him getting hurt, sure, fine. But he should have gotten at least maybe a quarter, like some reps, maybe like one series of offense. Aaron Rodgers should have gotten in the last playoff game, or not playoff preseason game. I don't know what the Packers are doing there, but it's not football. They're not playing football over there. Football is the last thing on their mind. It's all about everything else right now. Now, granted, they're kind of lucky because everybody else lost in their division. If they can figure something out, as far as recollecting things, Rodgers is playing as if he's going to retire. But if he's trying to play to get traded, you're not giving yourself any too much. I mean, yeah, he's got a track record, but you're not raising your stock level at all. Like, who's going to want... This guy looked like... I mean, he threw 2 picks. Looks like a bum. And his hairstyle and his beard... The dude looks 65 years old. He's an old man. He's old. Tom Brady, older than him, I think. And he looks good. But Aaron looks like a freaking drowned rat. Horrible. The Packers... I think the whole country, especially Packers fans, were so disappointed in the way that game turned out. But I didn't think it'd be that bad, but I mean, last week I was saying that it's not about football for them. There's too many outside sources or outside influences that are... It's not about football. Saints look good, though. Give them that. Saints look really good. I think if they could stay at that level, Jameis didn't look like the Jameis of old. He looked like the Jameis of new. So, new era there. Hopefully it sticks with New Orleans. But we'll see. Cardinals, too. Cardinals looked really good, and Titans, too. Very disappointing. But, you give a 5 sacks to was it Chandler Jones or whatever? And yeah, 5 sacks. D Hop looked great. Kyler Murray looked great. 4 touchdowns through a pick, but the Titans, I mean, I get you got J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones. I mean, the defense is pretty solid, but how does Derrick Henry only have 58 yards rushing? I mean, the dude's an absolute beast. Tannehill had 17. Your quarterback averaged 8.5 yards per carry. Your running back averaged three and a half. Your quarterback had more rushing yards or rushing touchdowns than your running back. Your in my an MVP candidate or quality type running back, horrendous. Uh, Tennessee's got a lot to figure out because the Cardinals keep playing like this. Hopefully, the Cardinals only get better. I think it was kind of a fluke game for the Cardinals. I don't think they'd put up another performance like this. Um, because teams in the NFL they're used to these scrambler type quarterbacks now that unless you get you're good for 1 year. Now maybe this is Kyler Murray's 1 year. You know, like Lamar Jackson has his 1 year. Michael Vick had his one big year in 03. Where this whole mobile quarterback thing, you get somebody new back there, you don't know how to game plan against them. It's difficult, trust me. Being a coach myself, you get a running quarterback too, like a quarterback that can run and throw. It makes things really difficult. But when you become accustomed to it, because you see it so often, you start learning ways. And so I think the Cardinals game is not so much a fluke, I guess I would say, but just I don't think they put up a performance like that the rest of the year. Jets Panthers, what a weird game. Panthers edged that out 19-14. Very average game for both teams, but average teams, average game. The Chiefs came back and beat the Browns. I thought the Browns were going to beat the Chiefs, honestly. They were looking really good, but then fell apart right at the end. You give up a huge play to Tyreek Hill where Patrick Mahomes just chucks the ball up, and this little guy makes a play off a little bit of a broken coverage. What are you gonna do? Chiefs doing Chiefs things, but it's it's kind of what you expect from them. I just thought the way the Browns played that whole were playing that they were gonna win, but then again, you got to play 4 quarters. Dolphins Patriots. Dolphins edge it up by 1 point. Mac Jones looked pretty good. Tua looked okay. He had the one rushing touchdown. But yeah, Devontae Parker at 81 yards. Mac Jones just looked good. I think Patriots look better with a out of shape or a slow white quarterback. you know, I'm glad Cam's out of there. I'm not even gonna get into that, but I'm glad Cam's out of there. But Dolphins 17-16. A little bit of surprise there, honestly. I thought the Patriots would have easily handled that game, but Broncos Giants. Giants so disappointing. Saquon gave me 3.8 points in fantasy this week. Yeah, he's still injured or whatever. Teddy Bridge with 2 touchdowns, 264 yards passing. Melvin Gordon, though, I did have Melvin, so he had 100 yards and a touchdown. But the Giants just so disappointing. Daniel Jones threw for 260 yards and a touchdown. But they lost 27-13. Sterling Shepard had a game, 113 yards. But pass protection overall for the Giants, the Giants line was abysmal in that game. They weren't. I don't know. It's the Giants. It's week 1. It's early, but now I'm worried. I was really hoping the Giants would have done better in that division this year, because they're due, man. They're so due to be great. But we'll see. Rams and Bears. Rams. Stafford looked loose. He looked faster than when he was with Detroit. He looked good. Maybe he's just happier there now. He's playing, just with a little bit of swag back in him. You know what I'm saying? And Bears. We all knew the Bears were gonna lose this game because one, they started Andy Dalton, right? And they found out pretty quickly, like everybody already knew, that it wasn't gonna work out. I don't think Andy Dalton plays the next game. I don't think he starts. He threw for 200 yards and an interception. Justin Fields only was 2 for 2 for 10 yards and a rushing touchdown, I think. Yeah, 1 rushing touchdown for 3 yards. But just an average performance from the Bears. We all knew that was going to happen. Now the Rams look really really good. Obviously, defense they have one of the better defense, if not the best defense in the league. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. But the Bears, I think if the Bears game plan with Justin Fields at the head there, it's a more competitive game. The Rams still might edge out. But I don't think anybody really anticipated Matt Stafford to ball out like he did. Like he's chucking that thing, man. Like it looked like he was playing like he thought he had Megatron down there. He's just chucking that thing deep, you know. But Stafford looked good. I still think Goff is the better trade out in the long run for the Lions, just because younger. But if Stafford keeps playing like this, his career might. He might have even longer career than I thought he was gonna have. Moving on to the Raiders and the Ravens. Now that Monday night game last night was boring. It was, in my opinion, it was super boring until the very end. Even the very end was kind of like an odd. I think Gruden came out today and he's like, I felt like I died, came back to life, and died again at the end because like they were down, they gave up the go ahead lead, the field goal, and then Carr brings them back, has two 25-yard throws, gets them back within field goal, kind of like 51-yarder or whatever it was. Dude drills it, go to OT, turnover. One, I thought the Raiders should have won that with that penalty at the end, but right away. But then they go 3-0. The Ravens hold them, go down, fumble it, and the Raiders come down. Still weird possession, and they just kind of like chuck it up at the end of the game and win it to a wide open. I don't even know who caught that ball. To a wide open receiver. Who was it? Zay Jones. 2 catches. Now Darren Waller had a game though. Darren Waller had 10 receptions, 105 yards and a touchdown. He had a game. I didn't think the Raiders are gonna play like the way they did, but the whole game was just boring, in my opinion. I think that was like the second overtime game on Monday night since like 1992 or something like that, and it was very weirdly boring, in my opinion. But that's that. But week one was good, man. Looked good. I'm excited for a lot of teams. Thursday night now though. Moving on to week 2 predictions. Giants game. I keep saying Redskins. Giants football team. I gotta think that the Giants win that game. I think Saquon actually plays. He's gonna be more involved. And who knows what the quarterback situation is gonna be for Washington. So. And Washington is kind of, I don't know. The Giants are due. I think they're going to turn it around. They're going to refocus. And the Giants are going to come out on that one over Washington on Thursday night. Raiders, Steelers. Raiders looked really good. Steelers looked okay. I think the Raiders, when you get a team the way that they played last night, as dysfunctional as it was or whatever, weird. A team like that actually builds so much confidence. It's like you go into your coaches have your conversations like that's how you battle, that's how you don't give up, that's how you bend not break, blah 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 blah. But you do, I feel like, and coaching over the years, you actually build up a lot more confidence in games like that than you do in blowouts, if that makes sense. Like in blowouts, I feel like you're at higher risk of like plateauing or having a setback for the next week. Now the Raiders are riding that like close game. Right, we got a lot to work on yet. Now they kind of refocus and they have confidence and the mentality to restructure and to refocus and to fix what was going wrong. And the Steelers just played a boring game against the Bills, so I don't think the Steelers win. I think the Raiders go 2-0. I think they beat the Steelers. Niners, Eagles. Jalen Hurts looks good. I think the Eagles beat the Niners. I don't think it's going to be a blowout though, like they did against the Falcons. It's obviously going to be a bigger test, but I want to think that the Eagles beat them. The Niners still got to figure out quarterback. I mean, Garoppolo had a good game. 314 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he had a pretty good game. Debo showed out, Um, but the Eagles looked really, really good. So I want to think the Eagles ride that high a little bit, and they edge out the Niners only because the Niners I don't think are exactly sure what they're doing in the quarterback situation. Um, if they commit to Garoppolo, fine, but he's hit and miss over the years. I mean, track record, he's proven that injuries or not. So, but I think the Eagles beat the 49ers. Moving on to the Browns and the Texans. I think the Texans game was kind of a fluke. I know I was saying that before, but the Texans I don't think perform the same, and I think the Browns do perform the same, but they play a full game. And I think the Browns beat the Texans maybe. If you want to throw a score in there, maybe like I don't know, like 27-17, something like that, like a 10 score game. But the Browns looked really good. I really think the Browns can contend this year. I like Mayfield. I love Baker. I really think he's a great quarterback. He plays. He's got a lot of swag. I think I like that in a quarterback. I don't really like that traditional stand up guy all the time. Where Baker can make some plays on his feet and he sits in the pocket pretty well. To his disadvantage, he's not that tall, and I think it's just kind of just chuck and duck at some points. And I think Odell is back that week, so with Odell back in the passing game, I don't think the Texans can keep up, and I don't think their offense performs the way they did in Week 1. So I think the Browns beat the Texans there. Jaguars Broncos. We'll see how Trevor Lawrence bounces back from his first regular season loss in ever. Whoop-de-doo. But we'll see how he bounces back as a rookie quarterback to see if he can. He still threw. What did he have for how many touchdowns? Did he have 2 touchdowns? He threw 3 touchdowns. So he still threw. He threw 3. He threw 3 touchdowns, but threw 3 picks. Now maybe that balances out in his head. Maybe he's okay. Maybe he'll be okay moving on. But I think the Broncos. Teddy Bridge looks good. He's an experienced guy. Von Miller though, that defense. We'll see. I don't think the Jaguars win. I think the Jaguars go 1-2. They lose to the Broncos. Saints Panthers. I think the Saints, as long as they play the way they the same attitude and the same tempo that they did against Green Bay, and they absolutely embarrassed Green Bay, I think the Saints are going to beat the Panthers pretty handily. Even though the Panthers did win, but the Panthers look very sluggish. So I'm still not sold on Sam Darnold. I think he was a bust in New York, and he did okay. In Week 1, 279 and a touchdown. I mean, that's pretty okay. Jameis had 5 touchdowns and 150 yards passing. So you never really know how a game's going to turn out, but I don't think the Panthers win. I think the Saints are a lot of confidence, a lot of they bought into this dude, into Jameis, and he's leading this team. He's weird. He's the cringiest quarterback of all time, but I think they keep playing like they did against Green Bay. They keep riding that tempo and riding that high. I think they're going to blow out the Panthers as well. Rams Colts. Rams take that easily. Same kind of thing with the Saints Panthers. I just don't think the Colts keep up. The Rams are going to show out. Best defense in the league. The top 3 defense in the league. Just the Colts. I don't know. They still got a lot to figure out. I think T.Y.'s out for the season or something, or half the year. So they're missing a lot of pieces in Indianapolis, but the Rams are just playing way too good. So I think the Rams are going to blow out the Colts. Bills Dolphins. I think this is the week the Bills turn something around. They play a little more loose, and I think the Bills are actually gonna. I'm not sold on the Dolphins. Tua is a good quarterback, but I'm not sold on them yet. They really got to start putting some numbers out there for me to, as highly important as my approval is, the Dolphins got to prove something to me yet. They barely won. They won by a point against a team that I thought should have blown them out last week with the Patriots. So, and the Patriots just came out flat. So the Bills play. I think they turn something around. Josh Allen, they're gonna get on their leaders, get on their captains, and I think they're gonna turn something around there that the Bills beat the Dolphins this week. Patriots Jets, same kind of a situation there. I think the Patriots. I think Belichick. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. I think he gets on their asses a little bit this week, and I think the Patriots beat the Jets pretty handily this week. That's what I'm thinking. I think Mac Jones is gonna have a day. He's gonna play lights out. Nah, I think the Jets. Yeah, I don't think the Jets got it. They could be good. Don't get me wrong. The Jets could be really good, but I just don't not. I think the Patriots turn. I think the Patriots have a better chance of improving than the Jets do from last week. Bengals Bears. If the Bengals don't play call like they did, so conservative like they did, if they let Joe Burrow ball out a little bit, I think the Bengals can easily beat the Bears by like 2-3 scores. Now the Bears, and that's if the Bears start Andy Dalton again. If the Bears go the other way and they start Justin Fields or whatever. Yeah, Justin Fields. I couldn't remember his name. If they go with Justin Fields, the Bears I think show up, but I don't think the Bears are quite there yet because of like all this quarterback controversy. When you don't have the right guy at the helm, you're not you never know. So maybe the Bears could play lights out if they go the Justin Fields route, but I think the Bengals have got something figured out there. But they were just they were just way too conservative this last week against the Vikings, and they still won, barely, but they still won. So I think the Bears or the Bengals. I think the Bengals beat the Bears, regardless of who starts for the Bears. But I think the Bears need to start Justin Fields if they want to have any success. If they want to have a chance to win the division, I think the Bears need to start Justin Fields. I think that's pretty simple as that. Falcons Buccaneers. The way the Falcons played last week, Buccaneers will win by 63. I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. They came off. They're still pretty healthy, minus I think that one injury in the secondary, that safety, that I forget his name. It's something weird like arm push-ups or bush sittings or something like that. I forget his, I don't know his name, but it's something weird. But he got hurt in the secondary, but they're still looking really good, really really good. I think the Buccaneers beat the Falcons pretty handily again. Vikings and the Cardinals. I don't know. I think the Vikings beat the Cardinals this week. Just because the Vikings they play good football, but it's so mediocre. Like it's just so mediocre. Like Thielen balls out, and they just kind of, eh. Like their defense is probably a top 5 defense in the league, should be, and they just like flat. They come out flat, and it's just the Vikings. The Vikings doing Vikings things. I think they slowed down Kyler Murray a little bit. I don't think D Hop has the week he has, that he had last week, and I don't think Chandler Jones or that whole defense gets 5 sacks again like they did. I think the Vikings offensive line is a little better than that as far as pass protection, especially regardless of who's there, J.J. Watt or not. I think Dalvin Cook might have a better game because of that. I think they'll be able to find ways to exploit that defense a little bit more. And then it's Patrick Peterson going against, I think it's Patrick Peterson, going against his old team. So there's a little chip there. So I think defense is going to come out balling. And I don't think the Cardinals edge it out. I think it was a little bit of a fluke last week. And the Vikings win this week. Titans, Seahawks. If the Titans play like they did last week, there's no way. The Seahawks are just too consistently good that I think that the Seahawks still win. I think the Titans improve obviously from last week. I think Derrick Henry probably has like a 120 yard game on the ground. But I don't think it's enough. I think Russell Wilson's weight, he's too good. He's still diming it deep. He's still still scrambling. He's still doing Russell Wilson things. So I think early in the season like this, unless the Titans come out blazing and they absolutely shut down the Seahawks offense, which I don't think it's really that possible. I think the Seahawks win. I think the Seahawks win that game. It'll probably be a little closer, maybe like a 1-score game, but I think the Seahawks win there. Cowboys Chargers. I like the Chargers, man. I really do, but I think this week the Cowboys win. I think they feel like they left a lot on the field Monday night against the Buccaneers. I think they should have beat the Buccaneers. But the Chargers, I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't know, man. The Chargers are gonna for sure The Cowboys got a weak secondary. So Justin Herbert should probably be able to exploit them pretty well with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, even Austin Eckler in the flats or something or on a wheel route. But I don't know. I think the Cowboys just gonna ball, man. I think they're good. I think they're really really good. So I think the Cowboys beat the Chargers in this week in week 2. Chiefs Ravens. Um, I think the Chiefs. Ravens have got pretty demoralized this last one. I think. Plus they had a really rough week as it is. I don't know. We'll see how they bounce back. Um, Latavius Murray or Lamar Murray, whatever Murray. He looked pretty well. He looked pretty good at running back. I think they got Le'Veon Bell too now, so maybe they'll mix in some things that they might enhance the offense a little bit more. But the Ravens still looked really good, but it's just such a boring. They came out flat again, like most of these teams in week 1. They just came out so flat, so conservative that it was like it's kind of boring to watch a game to the very end. Most of these games this week were like it was like okay. Then at the end it was like, oh what's gonna happen? And it's like all of a sudden OT or you know field goal to win the game or something. You know what I mean? Like and it was this week though. I think the Chiefs that might be another close game too, but I think the Chiefs still win it. Just Patrick Mahomes he's just too good. He's changed the league. And I think they're still on that high from last week, and they're gonna ride it out. And I think the Chiefs win week 2. Lastly, Monday night, Lions at the Packers. Packers home game. The Lions playing like they did in the second half or in the fourth quarter. I think the Lions beat the Packers at home. The Packers gonna obviously when you're at the bottom of the barrel like the Packers are, the only way to go is up. So I think the Packers are gonna show out a little bit more, but I want to think the Lions are actually gonna beat them, which is gonna be disappointing for a Monday night game for especially home in Green Bay. Um, the Green Bay's got the edge everywhere, but they're not like I said already. They're not. It's not about football anymore. So unless this week in practice they're able to have some team chemistry and get some camaraderie back, and Rodgers is able to have some one-on-one time with coaches and players, and they re-gel miraculously, is the only way the Packers are, and they start focusing more on football again, like winning the division, winning the conference or NFC championship, and then going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. If those aren't goals, which they probably preach it, I'm sure every day, every week, but I don't feel like it is. Like everything that you ever see or hear about the Packers is not football related. It's always about like what's this cat doing now, or who do they want to bring in, and they're not playing their starters, and it's like they got a new defensive coordinator, and it's not about just playing the game and trying to win every week. In my opinion, that's how I feel. So I don't think the Packers are there yet, and I don't think even with the extra day this week of practice, I don't think they get it yet. I think the Lions figured something out at the end of the game. They got a little more trust in their quarterback, their new quarterback that they got. So I want to think that the Packers actually lose Monday night against the Lions. I still think the Lions are going to take the division. Again, like I said, unless the Packers miraculously come together and figure something out, But Lions over the Packers Monday night. And that'll about wrap it for week 2 and week 1 recap. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us on all our social platforms. East Croc Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Twitter and Instagram primarily, especially Instagram. That's like the main one is Instagram. If you're listening and you want to watch the show, we do record it every time we put an episode out every weekend, or we're trying to do every weekend. Now with football happening on Sundays, it's the recordings have to be right. So this is more like a midweek episode, but nonetheless, once a week we're coming out with an episode. And if you're listening and you want to watch, you can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/EastCroc Podcast. And if you're watching, and you usually watch, but you would rather listen, say like on a car ride or something like that, we are on Spotify, like iTunes. I believe Apple Podcasts too, but East Croc Podcast, it's all the same. Everything's the same. You can Google everything. We're still working on merchandise, so we got a t-shirt and a hat. I think is like the first one it's gonna be. We're still waiting on that for officially. It is coming though. Like officially, once it drops, we'll be able to get information out to you to get it. Okay. But Patreon members will get it for free. So if you are on our Patreon, patreon.com/eastcrock podcast, you will get we will get in touch with you through Patreon or through social media or whatever to get you merchandise just for being a Patreon. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it's just like a support channel for like a support website for creators. So whether it's podcasts, small businesses, stuff like that. You can go and just general support for the show and certain tiers. There's like a tier level. It's like kind of getting like Hulu or Hulu Plus or whatever. Um, no commercials. Like there's different tiers to it. It's like a $3 and like a $5. It's really not that much, but the higher tier you go, the more stuff you get. So if you want to check out our Patreon, it's patreon.com/eastcrockpodcast. And that will wrap it up. Hopefully the NFL keeps going the way it is. It's been exciting. It's actually been very, very good. Week 1 was actually very, very good. With all the ups and downs. Now being from Green Bay, I'm really hoping this Packers team. We're just so used to the Packers being so consistently good that I think that being embarrassed like this is just rips your heart out a little bit. And shout out to Casey Christian, a good buddy of ours, with his Saints team. He gets grilled every week about the Saints, and I think especially about Green Bay. So I think the Saints beating the Packers, um, you know, kudos to him because he gets so much crap. He dishes a lot of shit too, but he gets so much crap every week. Whoever the Saints play, blah blah blah. So kudos to him. Hats off to him. The Saints smoked the Packers. And any other Saints fan out there, kudos to you. You beat a JV Packers team, so good job. But that will wrap it up. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week. Peace.